All right, stand by. 10 seconds.
Camera
Go.
check.
Talent.
Ready, camera
Roll
check.
for record.
Cue talent.
One.
Roll for record.
It's a tale of two creepy Bills. I'm John Phillips, and this is The Rundown. Former President Bill Clinton hit the campaign trail for the first time this week, stumping for his wife Hillary in New Hampshire. He made headlines, but they weren't exactly flattering. The New York Times called him a subdued spouse. The Wall Street Journal said Big Dog Bill Clinton gets fixed. Ouch. But no matter how low-key Bill Clinton is, accusations of his past mistreatment of women, including rape, could be a disaster for the Democrats. Bill Cosby was recently arrested and is now facing charges over similar, sometimes decades-old, previously discounted claims of abuse. There you see his wandering eye and the other one is wonky. But in the age of social media, which can expose these types of claims to a previously uninformed segment of the public, is Bill Clinton going to get Cosby'd? Yes, it's now a verb. Maybe so. In fact, Hillary Clinton herself was heckled by a state lawmaker and rape victim about her husband's treatment of women at another rally. Also in New Hampshire, Hillary Clinton called her rude and moved on. Republican frontrunner Donald Trump is making similar comments, saying it would be a very interesting question to ask Bill Clinton what the difference is between him and Bill Cosby. And we cannot forget the fact, which we discussed on this very show, that Hillary says, quote, "Every survivor of sexual assault deserves to be heard, believed, and supported," end quote. Will Bill's popularity with Democrats outweigh his record as a creep toward women, or will he get the Cosby treatment? Could his past perversion scuttle Hillary's girl power themed campaign? To explore all these questions and much, much more, we turn to our pal Scott Ott in Dallas, Texas, who's an author and political satirist, and here in rainy Southern California, stand-up comic and PJTV contributor Stephen Cruiser. Now, the world has changed dramatically from 1992 when Bill Clinton came on the scene and won the presidency. And a lot of people on the right who were aware of Paula Jones and Kathleen Willey and Juanita Broaddrick and fill in the blank rest. A lot of us, we recall what happened, but there's a lot of other people out there that don't remember those names and are unaware of those stories. It's kind of like you talk to people about Pat Morita, and you can always tell which generation they come from, whether or not they say he was Arnold from Happy Days or the wax-on, wax-off guy from Karate Kid. There are millions and millions and millions of people out there who are totally unaware of all of those women, all of those accusations against Bill Clinton. And if this becomes an issue, this could become Bill Cosby Part 2, couldn't it?
It might. You're right. Back then, the only people who knew about those names were people who listened to Rush Limbaugh, basically.
Right.
There was really nobody outside of that circle that knew about any of those names because talk radio wasn't as pervasive for conservatives yet. It was just Rush.
There was no Drudge Report back
Yeah, there was no Drudge. It was just Rush. So if you listen to Rush, you knew those names. If you didn't, you didn't. Now, here's why I don't think it's going to be the same. There is... And I think that they are as insidious as the day is long in how the lengths they'll go to protect anyone in a position of power who can still help the pro-abortion agenda move forward. That's why Bill Clinton got a pass. That's why Teddy Kennedy got a pass. That's why Democrats get passes on things that other people would be excoriated for, is because they're still pro-abortion. This is Cosby's not in a position to do that. Were he a politician, I think it'd be a whole different story right now. I don't think this is a racial issue. I think that Bill Clinton they would be going after him viciously, yet he and his wife, still big pro-abortion people. That's why, I don't know, for the people who don't remember the 90s, feminists disappeared. Then they just went underground. You had a better chance of finding Sasquatch in bed with the Loch Ness Monster in the 90s at a Ritz-Carlton than you'd have finding a feminist, because they just disappeared in defense of Bill Clinton.
But part of the reason that happened was because you could hide the details. If Newsweek decided they weren't going to print it, people didn't know it. And Scott, when you look at the details, particularly of the Juanita Broaddrick situation, I think when most people read it and become aware of what is alleged here, they're going to be very disturbed. Your thoughts?
Well, yes, but I think that those who are completely, sold out to the Democratic Party and that whole agenda, the abortion agenda, as Stephen Cruiser rightly points out, they will look at this and go, hey, where did these things come from? bringing them up in a political year. Who ever heard of this? And, for them, it's like a brand new revelation. I saw a little clip, I believe it was on CNN, where one of the guests mentioned that and he was supportive of Hillary Clinton, but he mentioned that there had been 14 different women who made allegations of sexual assault against Bill Clinton. And the female host said, 14? Really? Like, she had no idea that this stuff was going on. So I'm not sure that it's going to have the deleterious effect that you would assume. And by the way, I don't think that the Planned Parenthood people are giving Bill Clinton a pass. I think the Planned Parenthood people love more than anything a guy who can't keep it in his pants and is sowing his seed far and wide. For the abortion clinic industry, that's good for business.
Now, Scott said there are 14 women that have made allegations towards Bill Clinton. If there are 14 that we know of, how many more do you think exist?
Yeah, look at how that iceberg went with Cosby. There was one for the longest time, and
Right.
then after about a month, boom, they started coming out of the woodwork. So, yeah, I think it could be a lot more. I think it gets a little. I don't think it's going to. He's going to get a complete free pass, but the way they go about this thing, I'm working on a piece right now that is unfinished, but will be by the time that this airs. About Vox has a big thing on this today. When Vox-plaining, they're usually cheerleading for the left. They go and they start to go at the heart of this, and they find nuance in the Juanita Broaddrick story. And maybe it was this, and maybe these are the same people who Mitt Romney was the criminal of the century for putting his dog on the top of the car. But they're looking for nuance in this right now. But even they find fault with Hillary's current social justice warrior, every allegation has to be taken seriously. They're starting to say, okay, maybe we don't need to go there anymore. So it's either going to harm the Clintons or it's going to harm the social justice narrative on campus right now. And if you know anything about the Clintons, chances are it'll go the other way.
Joy Behar went on The View and essentially said, I don't care if he's a rapist.
Yep.
They're going to vote my way, and so therefore I'm going to vote for them, I'm going to support them, and I'm going to come out as a public advocate on their behalf. When people who are not political animals, people who may not be watching PJTV and reading their daily newspaper, see this, is that going to bring the yuck factor out?
The yuck factor?
The yuck factor.
The yuck
when,
like yuck.
When the supporters
the yuck
say,
CK or yuck K? Are we laughing or are we hurling? Which one?
Hurling.
We're hurling, okay.
It's the Mr. Yuck sticker.
I would go so far as to say, just a screenshot of Joy Behar brings the yuck factor out. She doesn't really need to say anything that's going to offend you.
I don't know. I prefer in Tootsie.
But yeah, I think that I think most people will find that extraordinarily distasteful because it is. You can't just sit there. It may be the same host that Scott was talking about, but they were doing this big panel on CNN last week about Clinton, and she said, maybe it's just that he really, really likes women. Are we just discounting that? That's how she started. That was the leading question. She was, is he really a problematic guy? Is he really sexually assaulted? Or does he just really, really like women?
She said to herself, all this time I thought he had a rapier wit. Now, Scott,
Stop, just let him absorb it.
If someone who's not particularly political at your church or a parent at one of your kids' schools, here's Joy Behar said what she said, is that going to be enough to turn them off? Is that going to get their attention?
Well, first of all, need I remind you, I live in Texas, so I'm not sure I'm the best example of overhearing this kind of thing or being involved in such a conversation. But somebody who's not super tuned into the news and they hear a somewhat famous woman, maybe somebody they trust like Joy Behar, say, I don't care if he's a rapist, he'll vote my way. I mean, that is a version of the old, sure, he's an SOB, but he's our SOB. And in many ways, I think that's the way the rank and file of the Democratic Party still think. They think no matter how bad our guys are, at least they're our guys, and they're not Republicans. And so I will vote for this person as long as he's legally eligible to be, or she's legally eligible to be elected. Now, throw her in jail, and maybe I'll start looking at Bernie Sanders.
How aggressive should the Republicans push this issue?
I think they should push it big time because of her duplicitousness on the whole rape issue at the moment. She said what she said. It's out there. She said every allegation has to be taken seriously. She didn't say, well, everyone since 1998. She said every allegation has to be taken seriously. And you've got to hammer her on that. But again, this is where you need a little help from the press. This is where, if the tables were turned, so let's take the Joy Behar thing, flip it around. If it had been someone conservative saying that about a conservative candidate, you would see the word rapist in every headline in every newspaper in America. You would hear the word rapist for days on end. You would rapist to go after the candidate, and then that just doesn't happen on this side. You need a little help from the press, but they need to be aggressive on this because she's red-handed. I mean, I can't believe that somebody in her campaign said, yeah, go out and say this.
Scott, when there's a debate in the general election, should the Republican take this issue straight to Hillary's face?
Yes, and let me say two things about that. First of all, we need to, how to start a meme, and we don't have the money from George Soros that we really need, like the people in Ferguson did. But that whole hands up, don't shoot thing, I think that we now should go around like doing this and going, pants up, don't rape, or something. We should have some kind of of thing where we can, make it catch on in the culture. I can see a lot of people doing that. I do think that the Republicans should bring it up in the debate, but I think you've got to be very careful about how you do this, because there are two women who are assaulted when a man who is married assaults a woman sexually who is not his wife. And number one is the victim, the direct victim that he sexually assaulted. And number two is his wife. I think we shouldn't say it in a way that says we feel sorry for Hillary. In a sense, we have an enabler who is still caught up in that pathology.
You know what, Scott?
It's almost like you need to...
I couldn't disagree with that
Go
more,
ahead.
because Hillary Clinton, if you look at the intimidation of these women, Hillary Clinton was right there along with Bill, right there along with Sidney Blumenthal, right there along with the thugs that terrorized these women, allegedly killed their animals, slashed their tires, made them think that they would be... bad things physically would happen to them if they told the truth. I think Hillary is almost just as bad as Bill.
And so, I would totally agree with you on that. And so I think you need to leave it in the voters' mind. Say, look, either Hillary Clinton is a victim in this situation and has not yet gone through a recovery process, in which case she's not really ready for office until she's able to deal with this issue, or she's complicit in it. Now, I'm not a psychologist, and I can't make that evaluation. I'll leave that to the voters to decide whether she's mentally ill or she's a devious, complicit person who has benefited from her husband's philandering.
Will Bill's creepy treatment of women kill Hillary's campaign? Tell us what you think in the comment section below. I'm John Phillips. Thanks so much for watching The Rundown.